welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of real estate investing and explore the random stuff that makes life interesting. I'm John Whitfield, joined by my co-hosts Brandin, aka Papa P, from TED Sysops, and Carlos Zamora from Investor Fuse and Carrot. So buckle up for an exciting ride as we share insights, strategies, and the occasional hilarious anecdote from our journey in the real estate world. Before we kick things off, make sure to connect with us. Head over to links.letstalkrealestate.tv to follow us and catch up on the latest episodes. And don't forget to subscribe to YouTube. This week, we're delving into the dynamic world of pay-per-lead providers. We're going to be joined shortly by Jacques Pierre, who will be sharing invaluable insights on the Atlanta market and uncovering the latest trends that can reshape your business strategies. So how's it going this week, guys?
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know, I don't give a lot of accolades to a lot of people, but that was impressive. Way to step up your game. I thought John wasn't on the podcast, was it last week because he was sick, and I had to do the intro. And I'm not going to lie, I thought I did a pretty good job. I'm pretty sure I impressed Carlos, but that blew it out of the water. Well done, sir. Well done.
Well, preparation and Chat GPT does some wonders for everybody.
Chat, there you go, dude. Chat GPT. You know, it's funny. I saw a Chat GPT thing, and they added in the image creation, and
Yeah, I'm trying to get a paid account so I can get it.
Yeah, and it was make an American boy.
I saw that. Hilarious.
Yeah, and it's make it more American. So the boy started out innocent and cute, more American, very American, maybe 1950s style American, picnic table, 4th of July, old
Apple
cars.
pie.
Yeah, just very American. By the end of it, the second to last one, he was just fat, overweight, because the guy kept saying more American, make him now really American him up, make him ultimate America. And there was all commercialized consumer products, Wendy's, McDonald's, burgers, you know what I mean? Fast food places.
Oh, man.
He's overweight, stuffing his face with ice cream, just all these different things. That's what America it really is. And I thought Chat GPT, that it was funny that it thought that. And then the final one when he's make it the ultimate American. Now he's super Jack wearing American flag stuff, just shooting a shit ton of guns.
The way that AI imagines us is interesting.
Speaking of robots, though, I wanted to bring this up as Pulse of the Week. We keep Bloomberg on the TV, and I thought I wanted to get your feedback on this, talking about fast food and stuff real quick. I saw that Starbucks, our very beloved coffee drink that every American, very American right there. You're not American if you're not drinking Starbucks. You're at least not an American suburban mom if you're not drinking Starbucks.
There you go.
But they are enabling their stores to shut off the mobile ordering, right? Because they're getting overly swamped, which is what caused the union to get involved, the unionization to happen, because they felt like they were just getting swamped between the pickup orders and the mobile orders. And I'm assuming what I was reading it on Bloomberg as they were talking about it and stuff, and I'm assuming that meant the Uber Eats too, you know what I'm saying? All those mobile orders that you're ordering, but they're saying they're turning them off. Now, here's what I got from this, and I get it. Corporate's trying to make its people happy. They don't want to have to keep paying them more. We all know the tip debacle that happened at Starbucks, right? Tipping for everything. I've never been a barista. I say that proudly, but I can't imagine it's rocket science to make some coffee. Everything comes out of either a bean machine, a coffee brewer, a pump syrup bottle, something, right? How much longer until Starbucks just replaces every one of those motherfuckers?
Oh, I'm sure it's being worked on. I'm sure.
Right? All they do is complain. They have the easiest gig in the world. So you're stressed out making coffee. Join a fucking assembly line making an automobile. But guess what happened? They got replaced too, right? So when I read that, I started laughing, and I was like, them complaining only makes corporate want to say, I'm just going to get rid of all of them and make it automatic to where it's just click, click, click. Oh, coming out of my thing. Here's my drink. I'm good to go. What do we think? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, they already have those things on cruise ships where you can go and get a fancy bar drink made by a robot.
Yeah. They have to
if that exists, then they can absolutely make coffee. Um,
Yeah,
I don't think, I mean, it's coming. I think a lot of people are going to be replaced by that type of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting, like, to see how that will actually work in practice, right? Because, like, machines break down, somebody's to come fix the machines. Can a whole Starbucks be closed because of, it's robot baristas? Like, they might have
there's gotta be a blend, right?
and humans. But I think it's interesting that they are literally saying, let's shut off business.
That's what I said.
Man,
Instead of
let's make the
hiring more
demand.
people,
Yeah, let's make the demand angry, and just turn it off. That's I think a really dumb business
yeah,
answer.
so
Like,
so
there's
they're
better
giving
ways to
them the
solve that
ability
problem.
they're giving them the ability to shut it off locally, giving them more power, I think is how the headline read or something like that. So because dealing with the lashbacks or whatever it's called, like the lash outs of the staff at the
Like,
local
you
stores.
can solve this with software. Like, even if it's to the point of, like, I mean, this this software system should know how many people are, like, how many orders they have coming in, and saying, okay, we are at maximum, and it's like, okay, don't allow anybody to book for, like, come get my coffee right now, like, push it
Yeah, but
out 30
you're
minutes.
dealing with humans who are very inefficient. Like it was how the factory lines used to work back in the day, back in the 20s and 30s. There was a guy who came along and studied factory usage and like the staff, and he ended up creating lines. So like if you ever worked in factories, there's like paths and stuff like efficiency walking from here to there. He realized people wasted time walking around boxes or whatever, walking in different ways to get from one place to another. So he developed paths that everyone's supposed to wheel their wheelbarrow on to make it the most efficient. And
Hmm.
if you've ever been in a Starbucks, they're like chickens with their head cut off trying to make all these drinks. I just believe that machines, I mean, I have one here that can make me multiple different coffee style drinks. I just dump the beans in, and anything there that with a bean it can make me. And water and stuff. So I just am wondering how long until it happens. If I was the business owner, I would be very upset with all of that. And then, especially after the unionization, um, so
Yeah,
anyway, let's get into PPL.
let's
Yeah,
do it. I'm excited to talk about this.
before Jock, I feel like this is like when like a main performing comedian or like music artist comes on. We're kind of waiting for the main performer to come on. We're like the opening act. But before Jock comes on, I'm kind of curious. Brandon's been in the investor and agent space for a long, long time. I'm curious because I'm even trying to think here of the origination of PPL in the wholesaling space or the off-market investor space because we've been in
Yeah.
here for a long time. So, what exactly, for those not familiar listening, what exactly is pay per lead? And we're going to kind of talk chronologically, but why would an investor go pay per lead versus doing their own marketing?
So that's a very good question. I was never for PPL for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
right? I always had my own call center, generating my own leads, but PPL, pay per lead, could be many things. Generally, when you say it, most people think of a pay per lead provider that is providing inbound leads to you, inbound PPC, SEO, Google, Facebook, Bing, YouTube, TikTok, that type of stuff that generally is very expensive, but making it more accessible to people who may not have a budget to compete in a market at 30 grand a month to make it in your niche local market or to do nationwide per se. Um, so they come out and they provide these leads, and you could sign up whether it's a marketplace style or auction style, and then you have the choice between different providers provide county level or nationwide.
Hmm.
Now there's some PPL providers that mix in cold calling or outbound statuses, and some that do all of it. And then it's up to you to decide who you want to use. And there's a plethora of them out there, some good, some bad. Um, it makes sense. So when I'm a believer in less low stress on your team, like lower burn rate, like burnout rate.
Yeah.
And cold call leads had gotten to a point to where I felt like burnout rate was high our conversion was still pretty high. And I hear a guy's getting down on a conversion of a cold call lead in the 20s. I was still up in the 50s and 60s. So I never reached that maximum conversion of a cold call lead that maybe it's true, maybe it's not, of like 25. I never reached that status. So my burnout rate for our acquisition reps was pretty high. Also, my close rate was pretty long. So we were looking at like 6, 7 months typically from generating that lead to actually getting paid on it. So it was a long time because we had a lot of follow up because those people aren't necessarily urgent to sell. So when you combine all of that, I was like, man, like I really want to do some inbound leads. And I looked at TV and talked to a guy there, and I looked at PPC and talked to a provider of PPC, like somebody to run my campaigns in my own Google account. I thought about joining a mastermind to do it myself, yada, yada, yada. And what it came down to is I thought that I started talking about PPL, and cost of it seemed to make more sense for trying to dip your toes into inbound marketing coming from an outbound style company. Does that answer your question?
It does, and a few things that I'm thinking of. I'm excited for Jock to join as well because I'll have some feedback. But chronologically going through it, I think a lot of operators are kind of like outbound guys or gals, where they
Yeah.
they like that idea of it. It may have more burnout as part of the overall equation of if you like that channel or not. But it's kind of the cheapest way to get leads as far as upfront cost. So what I was thinking about last night, actually, just thinking about this episode, or texting with Jock yesterday, was kind of like the net profit, I guess, or just like net effectiveness of how valuable that marketing channel is. I think a lot of people, and what we're going to talk about today too, is I think more people may be moving to PPL, not because they love the channel or love the concept of pay per lead, but it's more so out of necessity because some of their outbound
Yeah.
functionality has been taken away.
What's going on, Jock? Yeah, SMS is definitely something that is kind of gone to the wayside. But,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just that. You made a comment that like PPL uh, or outbound was maybe a more cost, like a cheaper way to get into it. So it just depends like on where you're at. But like running a call center, like everyone forgets. And when I started really running some numbers, right? And this is probably my stupidity not really focusing on it earlier in my career, but like the data, the skip tracing, the phone numbers, and the more laws that came out, the more rotating those phone numbers, the more spam likelies, and then checking them against like the compliance. Like we had a spam checker we paid for. By the time I had that account, my dialer account, my cold callers, my QA checkers, my caller manager, and I started really adding it up. I mean, man, I was spending like just to run that 8 to 10 grand a month just on the actual
Yeah.
beast of it, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
machine. And then guess what? In 3 months, you need more data. And then you got to update that list every 6 months. And then you got to re-skip trace it. And then you need a database to like run everything. So the costs get to be pretty high when you're doing that. SMS is different. You have people sending those text messages. So anyway, long story short, PPL, you could get into it. PPC is more of a control thing, but with PPL, you could get into it and maybe like 3 to 5K to start, depending on like their lead conversion rate, which from my understanding is anywhere from like 8 to 12 leads. So that's kind of the math. I started some just basic math I was doing on why PPL might make sense. Doesn't mean you could get into it cheap, and maybe Jock's got an opinion on that, but like for new people, it does not mean you're going to get in with $1,000 and buy some $200 or $300 leads and get one. I mean, you got to come ready, just because you don't know when that deal's coming. It could come on your first lead, or it could come on the 12th or the 15th, and then maybe the 15th you get 2 deals back to back on your 16th and 17th lead, and that gives you that 2 for every 8 or whatever, right? You just don't know when they're coming, but you have to have the money to play the game until you get those.
Mm-hmm. And to get Jock up to speed real quick, we were kind of just talking about like what pay per lead is, why someone may do pay per lead versus running their own PPC. And chronologically, we're talking about how what we just got into was people are maybe moving more towards our hypothesis or assumption is more people are moving more towards PPL, or at least experimenting with it out of necessity from outbound, like people that like operators that love doing outbound, like cold calling, cold texting, maybe kind of pushed that way just out of regulations and how carriers are working. just as you hopped on, Big Money Jock, longtime friend of the show, longtime Investor Views and Carrot Guy, was just on the follow-up panel. You're good. But yeah, we were talking about, just as you were coming on, we were talking about PPL out of necessity, or PPL out of necessity with like texting regulations, which we definitely want to get your opinion on. But then also what I was rapping about to Papa P, or about to say, was what I was thinking about last night was just like, and this is a more advanced investor. When you're just starting off, you're thinking about money in, money out primarily. Once you're Papa P's age in this game, you start having more sophisticated issues or more sophisticated thoughts around this stuff. So I think about the net efficiency of working those leads, which Papa P alluded to a little bit with burnout. But outbound leads are typically very low investment costs to get into. But then you have to think of other variables, like it's going to take more leads. Your team is going to need better negotiating skills. So you probably need to have better sales training for your team versus like inbound leads that are easier to close in most parts, and they're longer time to close as well. You need more CRM efficiency, more manual, more automated follow-ups in place there versus some inbound, potentially could be PPL. So I kind of think of that as well. The money in, money out, as far as your spend on marketing and advertising and then your return, is not the entirety of the story, I guess, is some of the things I was thinking last night.
Yeah. So, no, it's actually funny. So that closing I was telling you guys about was actually a PPL lead that I was losing money on. I was
losing money on.
Yeah, I lost money on this deal. That's why I needed it.
Break it down for us.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, it happens in the industry, but I mean, there was so it needs to sell my house fast. Just to give you guys like a quick like breakdown as far as the story goes. I need to sell my house fast. He came in back in March. I would say this too. There's a lot of things, especially when it comes to PPL. So like what PPL, I always suggest that you just run every single appointment regardless of their asking price. So originally with this guy, he was asking for $265 full retail. He actually hung up on us when we told him that we're not going to do $265. My acquisitions called him back, still set the appointment. We ended up getting him under contract for $210. Now, with that being said, there was a huge tenant situation. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it was a whole bunch of drama and stuff like that. I had the cops called on me because of this. Yeah, so just there's a lot of distress with this one. So essentially we closed on it. It's just that, with this property, when we closed on it, I had a lender. We're paying really, really high interest with this lender because we expected to turn around a little bit shorter. Because typically with this lender, it's a 3-month turnaround. Yeah. So what happened was, not only did we go on contract with buyers and stuff like that, we got effed on the appraisal. Buyers backed out. We had extended past another 3 months. So like the lender was like,
you wholesaled it.
No. So that's the thing. So I closed on it myself and then listed it on the market.
Yeah, wholesale.
Yeah, wholesaled it. But then we had to put more money into it and stuff like that too. So yeah, we were just losing money on that one. But I mean, as far as like feedback goes, as far as with my thoughts on PPL. So since the texting regulation and launch control went down, we were already doing need to sell my house fast this entire year. Mm-hmm. So our average lead cost on the platform itself was about beginning of the year, we were at 200. It went up to 250. But ever since the marketing changes, we're at 375 now. And that's in our market. So then I'm like, okay, like paying 375 per lead right now. I'm like that. Like we've already been talking to PPC providers. We just got on board with a PPC provider. But I'm like, this isn't kind of sustainable because at the same time too, if you're using it as like your only marketing channel with your acquisitions is going to have a lot of downtime. Mm-hmm. Because of the consistency of the lead channel. If you're getting 2-3 leads per week, what is like they're not doing much else during the week. Yeah. And people don't pick up. So and that's the thing that we've also seen with the channel too. So you'll get a lead in January. They don't pick up for a month or a month in. Then it'll pick up at like 2 months or 3 months in or whatever, anything of that nature too. That's what we've kind of found. So then we'll begin them under contract 3 months later. So when you're looking at the efficiency of the marketing channel, if you're not converting the lead within the first month, it's just like, oh, go ahead.
So these need to sell my house fast. Are they inbound, outbound lead providers? Are you finding they're all PPC stuff, or do you think they get in some cold call SMS stuff? Like, what type of leads are they?
Strictly inbound PPL. Strictly inbound. They have their online farm for sellers. It's literally need to sell my house fast. I think they've done a good job with that as far as controlling that particular like search. So what's the keyword? Yeah, keyword search.
Mhm.
So I think they're pretty good at that spectrum of things. Now, granted, obviously there's always been some negative feedback when it comes to need someone else fast as far as like, the validity of the leads. Cause there's times where we will literally call a lead and it will literally be the person, the
What do
confirmed
they say?
person. And
That
then,
they say I didn't fill it out.
yep, I never fill out a single form.
Yeah, I've had that.
Yeah. So we were like,
So do you
okay,
get a
well,
refund?
yeah, you're able to refund those. Now granted, it's up to their discretion on if they want to approve it or not. And I think that's kind of like the other drawback of it too,
And you have to
Mhm.
provide proof, and you got to provide call recording links
Yeah,
or proof that you texted, called them, whatever they said to you that led you to believe that it's a refund, right?
yeah, 100%. And then,
What will they refund for? Can you say like if you try to call somebody 8 times and you never get in touch with them, you can get a refund for those types of leads?
no, not for that. So they'll refund if it's listed on the market. They'll refund that if it's
Okay.
MLS. If it's land or if it's another wholesaler, they'll refund for that as well. If it's not an actual valid lead for per se, so if they say that I never fill out a form, then they'll refund for that, and that's pretty much just the gist of what they'll do.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
What made you sign up for, or what made you go the PPL route towards the beginning of the year, 9 months before the texting regulations hit?
So we were on PPL since November of last year, and it was through CG. So we were talking about it in the Collective Genius group. So I was like, let's just go ahead and just pull the trigger on it. So we have closed some deals, and we have a deal on the contract right now that should be closing next week. That's from PPL. Need some house fast. So like I'm not gonna say it doesn't produce results because it has produced an ROI for us. Now, granted, like I said, it's just like one of those things where I just don't think it should be your main marketing channel. And if it's your main marketing channel, then you have to have like
You got to scale it. So
yeah,
when I was talking to some of them, and again, I haven't talked to Need to Sell My House Fast, but like when you talk to them, they ask you like what you want your cap at. It really comes down to your money. Like you could say, and again, it also comes down like like when Jacques was talking about, and I don't know, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but he was talking about like his price per lead. Like he said, it started out at 200 and now it's up in the threes. Well, some of them allow you to auction style where you can adjust on their website and say I'm willing to pay 400, and if that's the case you might get every single lead that's inside this PPL provider's count. If you're doing county, that county. But if you're tied, if you're just paying 300 and everyone's paying 300, right now you're just on a round robin. So if one comes in, you get one, the next one goes to the next guy, and so on and so on. So if there's 10 people in the county, it's going to take 11 leads to get back to you, right? You get the first one, and then that 11th one is kind of like that round robin status. So you just got to be able to spend more. And then, like, if Jock has a cap of 5, and then by that time he's already on that one rotation, that's his last one, I now move up, right? And because
yeah,
my cap is 20, and so I'm willing to take on 20 a week. It just, you have to set those things too with the PPL provider.
Mhm.
yeah. And so like so just like you said, so you hit it right on the head. So Need Some House specifically is an auction style. So even for us, we don't actually price. We won't go up to the 375 because I already told I was like, I'm not paying 375.
It's expensive.
Yeah, that's expensive for
I've
doing
seen
your
them
own
even.
PPC
I've
in a
seen them
major
even
market at that
higher,
point.
man. I was on property leads, right? Looking at propertyleads.com, and like I looked at some of the Texas markets, like Dallas is at 525.
yeah. See,
Someone's paying. Someone's willing to pay that, and so you can then go on and adjust and say, I only want to pay 400, and you might be able to get it if no one else. If the 500 people cap out and they get a lead, then guess what? You're like last man standing. You'll finally get one. But otherwise, every lead's going to go to the guy paying 525.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have the money, it makes sense. And it also depends on like, and Jock, I don't know, you're doing Novations, right?
Yeah.
So like it depends on your exit strategies too. But like 525, like do you have enough data to say what like your close rate is, like how many leads to, and not close rate. I want to take that back.
Yeah.
Your contract rate is like
Yeah. Contract
your
rate. Yeah.
leads to contract.
Yeah. So we run at 11-1.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's pretty typical. I mean, that's pretty good for like a PPC
4,500
type.
cost per deal if it's just the 375. Even though you said
Yeah.
you're not going up that high.
Yeah. I mean, previously, I mean, so we were averaging about like 2,800 to 3,000 per contract. But
That's
the
awesome.
biggest thing is that we were getting contracts, but like I would say like there was just a lot of just like the distress we were dealing with. We couldn't get some of these close.
Some serious distress.
Yeah.
So, and that's why for me, I was like, okay, can I really say that this market channel is not efficient? I know we're getting contracts, but Jesus is taking everything to try to get something to a closing table with some of these leads, you know? But I mean, it's like family drama. So like, I can't fault the marketing channel for family drama, you know?
I mean, and you said like I used to do my own PPC and I couldn't compete. Like my budget kept getting blown out with like some of the people because Central, like Orlando, Central Florida, is a very hot market. Like when people think about back in the day when you would only do like markets and people are like, I'm gonna go into a new market long before Nationwide. Guess what the first one everyone would want to go into?
Orlando.
Yeah, which was like either Miami, Orlando, or Tampa, right? So like that was everybody's market. They're like, I'm going into Orlando or Tampa. So it was always tough to compete, but you would still get those trash leads regardless. Like it doesn't matter whether you're running your own campaign or whether you're running off of a PPL campaign, you're gonna get those, but they just don't refund you for no responses. But like in each one of them, like motivated leads is a pretty robust list of like what they'll refund for. So that's pretty impressive. Like they'll refund, like you said, land. So motivated leads will refund for like land, condos, mobiles.
Okay.
So like, because not a lot of guys go after condos. Those are tough with the HOA fees and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so, and doing rehabs in condos, I've personally never done it. I'm sure it's pretty common down in Miami, but I've never done one. So you have a lot of choices, wholesalers, realtors listed on the MLS, change their minds. So Jock brought up the I didn't fill out the form response. Like they'll refund for that. I will need to sell my house fast, refund for that.
I'm not sure about like changing my mind. I know they'll refund for that as far as like I didn't fill out the form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like each one of them is different with what they'll provide refunds for. But I mean, like if you're making, let's just say your cost per deal is like $5,000 and you're making 20, 25, I mean, you know, it's not bad. It's not phenomenal, but it's not nationwide PPC level, but it's still, and it's not outbound marketing because you got I mean, I was lower on a cold caller than that, but you have less burn rate, you're shorter close time, right? Like, do you feel like there's more benefits to it than running an SMS cold call campaign?
As far as PPL goes,
Yeah, I'm not talking about PPC because most of the people that are probably listening, bro, if they could afford to run a 30-month campaign PPC budget, they're not even considering PPL. They'd be running PPC first and then maybe add PPL on later just for diversification. I'm looking at the people like me that was saying, okay, I'm sick and tired of this outbound stuff. Like I want to do something, but I don't really want to spend $30,000 a month on my own PPC campaign. How can I get my feet wet in this? Like, does it compete?
Yeah, so I would say as far as a shorter timeline, and that's what I like about PPL because obviously they have the SEO and like all that stuff dialed in, and they figured it out.
They figured it all out for you.
Yeah, exactly. Now the only thing is that you just don't have control over the variables of price per lead or anything of that nature, or the consistency of lead, because it's really about how many people on your market, who's on the platform. Like honestly, I don't even like promoting. I'm like promoting these because obviously there's more people. It's a bidding system,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
like, obviously, the more people that come,
I thought about that the other day, right? So I was like, there's got to be a level of collusion with this because, so like I'm clicking my button, right, and it says, so one of the providers I use, like I signed up for, I'm not really using all of these right now. I'm signing up this week. I signed up for 2 of them, and I'm trying for the 3rd to test them all out. But one of them is like not the highest. It's like yes, no, and then tie. So like it'll tell me if I'm tied for the highest bid. And I thought for a second, if we all know this and we all just click reduce, we could all collectively bring down the cost of these leads. But there's some asshole out there who's like 300. I'll pay 350, and then some other asshole goes, wait, I'm no longer the highest bid or tied. Now I gotta go higher, and it's just one of those like a fight to make the least money. I feel like we should unionize the PPL style, like the consumer business of the PPL, and all get together and collude on bringing down their cost per lead.
I'm honestly on the same page with that too. I think the other side of it too is that if you are the highest bid, or let's say you were tied or the highest bid, like $25, if everybody else dropped, they won't notify you. So the next person could probably be $100.
Yeah, you would have to reduce to see if it still says, yeah, I noticed that because I reduced the one and I was still the highest, and I was like,
yeah, exactly. So you have to constantly be checking to make sure that you're not overpaying $100 or $200 more than everybody else in your market too.
You know, I just thought of this, and it's kind of off of what you were just saying, but like when we were talking about toggling prices, the other benefit that I see from this, and which is I like, is you can turn on and off the provider based on your schedule or like vacations. For example, I was away for 2 weeks in Pennsylvania. I'm not sitting at my computer. I'm not really running deals, doing anything. When you run your own PPC account and you shut that thing down, it takes time to ramp it back up, like, and learn everything. With PPL, because you're just one of many, you're literally right back in that rotation. It's like, boom, I'm right back in there getting leads immediately, depending on, obviously, your budget, your county, and your limits. But yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think it's so like if I was a newer person who's approaching the PPL model, obviously, like I said, like what Brandin was talking about, like, you know, you have to budget $3,000 to $5,000 a month for at least 3 months.
A minimum. To get one deal.
Yeah, just one deal. But once you get that one deal, I would definitely allocate a certain percentage of that deal.
What do you think?
PPC.
Give us the percent.
I mean, if you hit the 20K rip, I would go ahead and just start like allocating about like 5-6 to starting a PPC campaign, then allocate the other 5 or 6 to Need Some House Fast or your whatever PPL provider that you're doing to continue that. But I think it's one of those things where just like it's when you build a business model off of
somebody else's business.
Yeah, that's what I don't like.
John's shaking his head because he knows that was my problem the entire time.
Yeah.
I never liked that idea. But Carlos has a saying, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the person, the villain you've hated or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm at that point where I've lived long enough in this business where I'm becoming the person I've talked shit on before. But I see that now. There's a company out there I've never used, but like Lamasu Leads, Scott Morris, he's very prominent all over. He's blowing up social media. He provides leads. I don't know his system. I don't know his costs. I know he does, like, he crushes it in cold calling is what it looks like. So that's a different style lead provider. But like my concern is where I think Jacques was going is like, what happens if the CEO of the company dies? Like, in my business thrives off of that. Like, let's just say 90% of my leads come from that. What am I doing at that point? And I know that's like a doom scenario, but like that was what my mindset was always at of why I never did it.
Yeah, but I mean, Launch Control, I mean, that was a prime example of
but you saw that coming though, right?
Yeah.
The writing was on the wall.
John was holding himself back, but like, you everybody saw that coming for years. It was just that collectively everyone made the decision to ignore it and ride that party train till the wheels fell off.
Yeah, I mean that's what I literally trust me. That was the same thing. I was like, you know what? Like I know it's gonna evaporate this year. I was telling my FBA like in general, I was like launch control's gonna like stop like this year, like for sure this year. Yeah. Now the biggest thing for me is that like, and I think that's the biggest like drawback about this industry is that it's not really like a heavy innovative industry, and I think as the consumers and as more people are, with the amount of technology that we have out there and everybody's online, digital, everything of that nature, I feel like us as investors, we haven't really explored all the options of online marketing and really like innovated it to the way to benefit the industry. Because, you know, cold calling, outbound, all this other stuff. It's a
money thing. It's a money thing. There's got to be money in it to do that, man. And like, so there was, and then there wasn't, and I think there will be again because SMS is gone, and it's becoming more. Cold calling's not dead, and I don't think it'll ever die, but it's becoming more expensive to run it properly and to get your calls through. So the cheaper methods are limiting creating a higher barrier to entry. So PPL comes in, but PPL ain't cheap. So again, let's just go off the 5K number, simple, right? Just to be safe, you need 5K. And so now you have a choice because you got 5K with no training, or you do 5K, but then you need to hire a mentor to train you and join a sales course and all this stuff. So it starts to become expensive to now where the once industry of do this for no money now requires money to enter into the scene. That's my belief.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too.
Some of those variables, those two variables, or that variable and another one I think are going to make it more challenging for wholesalers, more beginning wholesalers in 2024.
Yeah.
Just the current real estate market with less property selling, less wholesale deals getting done, and then also more difficulties or challenges in doing the outbound, like texting close to done and then cold calling just becoming more expensive and harder to kind of navigate that. If you're brand new, like if you're on the brand new side where you're learning real estate still and learning exit strategies and all this stuff, plus running your own cold calling, I see it being a challenging time.
Yeah, I agree with that. Right. Because you notice, like, if you even notice, like, even a lot of the gurus and educators, they don't promote like beginner courses no more, because you can't promote texting, right? You can't tell somebody, hey, you're going to go text this person, you know, like, hey, like, listen, you need to have a budget of $5,000. So anybody who's making money in education now, they're working with people who have
teams.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they're helping you scale your team. I don't know. I think at the same time, I agree. Obviously, I said what I said, but I also, there's a part of me that says, man, where there's a will, there's a way. PPL is a way for people to get in. Still requires money, but now you don't even have to like dispo your own deal. Back in the day, I had to have a dispo department. Like I had to find buyers. I had to have a whole system to do it because in 2017, 18, you weren't just calling somebody up. You didn't know, like it wasn't as connected as it is now to JV my deal. So now even a newbie, all they have to do is get a deal and they can hand it off. And then wash their hands of it, let someone get the picture taker, run the transaction, and do the dispo, get 50%, and you sit back and collect your check. So that becomes easier too. So I think while some things become harder, other things are becoming easier in a sense.
Yeah, but you definitely have to learn different exit strategies. I think for PPL, Novations is going to be like one of the biggest difference makers when it comes to like converting those leads.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, I would say we had, because I have my pipeline that I could go back and see which ones came from Need Some House Fast, and I could go back and double check. But a majority of our Need Some House Fast leads we monetize through the MLS. That's just kind of been what we've been able to do. I guess but there's one marketing channel I've always been curious about. that I feel like I know there's some people are doing. I think Stephanie Betters is doing it.
TV.
But well, not even TV, digital streaming ads.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
What's his name? I think his name's Jeremy Resner. There's a couple dudes that are doing it now, like on Netflix, Hulu. Like there's ads on there. They're going against people that have the cable and
that's TV. Doesn't that just fall under TV?
No, I mean
it's so much cheaper.
Yeah, it is cheaper
and so much more targeted.
So YouTube.
Yeah, I mean,
YouTube you can as well. I don't know.
This is not what you're talking. Strictly Hulu.
Yeah.
Netflix, non-ad, the ones where you don't pay for ad. Like I get that on my Amazon where it says free with ads.
Yeah.
It's not part of Prime. It's like free with ad. Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Imagine Papa P on a commercial there when you have Disney Plus on for the kids or something. Brandon's there talking.
Yeah.
Hey kids, tell your parents to sell me their house this Christmas.
Yeah, I looked at Hulu. Like Hulu, you can start with $500 a month.
Yeah, and you can get targeted right down to the zip code with Hulu. It's just pretty interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so that's why I was like, man, I was like, as an industry, I'm like, these are like,
there's different ways, but you can't just be a fly by night to do that. You got to have your shit set up, dude.
Yeah.
Like you got to have your presence set up, your brand set up. That's a very branded. Most of the guys starting, I mean, when I started out, I didn't have a company. I didn't have a brand. I was like a realtor who was flipping, and I learned like I was wholesaling. You know what I mean? Like, but if you're doing the Hulu stuff, you need a brand. You need a good website, whether it's a carrot site or something. You know, you need to have some type of presence. And you need like call routing, like you need some stuff to do that. You can't just put it up. It's not like a bandit sign. The digital it's a digital sign, but that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. I like that though.
But I mean, it's where the world is. The world is already there. It's just
that's all we watch.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to go meet where the world is at, and that's my biggest question. I was like, okay, well, you know, with marketing, especially when texting had gone down, and I went to my assistant. I was like, hey, like we need to figure out, like, obviously people are going to be distressed. Obviously people are going to need to be like sell their house. Like, what are they doing to go sell their house, or how are other people converting them? And I was like, even as industry, I don't think that we actually talk about it as far as like what other people are doing from an innovative standpoint, especially like the top organizations. They kind of keep that to themselves.
They just keep doing it, and then they'll build a course one day, but then it won't be innovative anymore, and they'll be on to the next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, hey, I ran some numbers while you guys were chatting, and I just wanted to share some real KPIs that I looked up on some teams in investor views of PPL versus PPC versus organic. And so I won't give you the amount. I will give you the percentages because I have to respect some privacy here. But we're talking thousands of leads in each category. And so I wanted to look at how many of them, the percentage of those leads went to dead, the percentage that went to qualified, and the percentage that went to contract. So for dead, PPL was 11%. Which is the exact same percentage as their PPC. And then their organic was actually higher at 16%. So 16% of their leads were dead from organic. Qualified is pretty interesting. So 32% PPL, 32% of them got qualified, which in investor views means they're going to an appointment, they're going to the offer phase.
To them.
You've talked to them.
They're turning to an opportunity, essentially.
Yes. 41% for PPC and 33% for organic.
So PPC is definitely winning in that battle. Like they're moving more to opportunities out of PPC by 10%, essentially.
Yeah. Contract. So PPL was 2 to 3%. And PPC was 1 to 2%, and organic was 3%. That's from leads. Lead to contract, not qualified to contract. The lead contract.
So PPL is better than PPC.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
But I don't have cost data on
but
this,
you know,
unfortunately.
When you
But
think about it, right? So like I was talking to one of the guys at one of the, I interviewed with, so I did lead solo, property leads, motivated leads, and I speed the lead, blah blah blah. So one of the guys that I was talking to, I mean, they have multiple brands. It's not
Mhm.
just one,
that they're getting leads from.
yeah, so it's not just
yeah.
like sellmyhousefast.com and that's the only place you're getting it, right? Like they really think things out and I can't speak for every one of them. I don't know how they operate their business, but they'll be like USA cash offer, America cash offer, sell my ugly house, sell my pretty house. Like they have different based on their ads, so they're running all these different things and accumulating like just converging them into their system and then sending them out to people like us. Do you know how difficult that would be? I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm sure the biggest companies out there do it. But for a small team, that's extremely intensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Inexpensive to run multiple pages. I remember I was talking with someone just about like carrot sites. I have a carrot site and we were talking about like doing it in different states and like you have to have different landing pages off your site for each different state. Like even that, it starts to get overwhelming the more and more you want to do that and you want to run ads in one market or another or 3 different states. You need to have all these different landing pages with ads going to each one with different call routing numbers. Like it gets to be a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will say, if you do want to do it yourself, Carrot has an amazing feature coming out for making location pages incredibly easy. So watch out for that if you have a Carrot site. It literally took the process from like hours upon hours to 3 minutes. That's really cool.
So,
but still, the ability, like, you still have to go make all those campaigns and monitor those campaigns and adjust those campaigns and understand which of those campaigns is actually generating leads. Like, there's a lot that goes into running that whole thing yourself.
So I did my own little mini poll, guys, and it wasn't I don't have many followers on Instagram. I only have like 900 or so. But people that follow me are pretty loyal, and so I posted last week as I was signing up for some. Just anybody have any recommendations on PPL providers? The responses that I got were pretty wild. The majority of people hate PPL. At least the ones that are following me. Many of them are do-it-yourselfers. One guy responded back to me that I was stupid, that essentially, why would I go spend $300 when it is so easy to have my own PPC account? And in Florida, if I run a statewide, I can have all my leads sub $150. Why am I going to pay 2 times as much to go to a PPL provider? I should just.
That was Brandin Bateman of Bateman Collective that
No. And listen, I talked to them too, and I have no complaints with like the way they do their business. I interviewed many different companies as I was making a decision. But no, it was not him. It was somebody else. And then I got some stories about people trying different ones. Now, I personally have only tried iSpeed to lead in a sizable amount. So I don't have any feedback on other ones. I started my motivated lead stuff this week, and my other ones are kicking in as I sign up and fund my account and all that. But the other thing is I got some stories from people. Now, one of the stories that I thought was interesting was that, and they didn't give me a name, so I can't speak to the validity of it, but they said they had caught the PPL because they were signed up for numerous ones. They had caught the PPL provider buying leads from other people's sites and putting them
other PPL providers.
Like they're signed up because they would start getting duplicate leads and they would talk to the lead and figure out like how many forms did you fill out and stuff.
You either die here or
because, and I said, why would they do that? And he said, well, it makes sense because they're only getting paid if their campaigns are producing leads, and if they have so many people signed up on their system and they're not producing enough leads, because basically it's an automatic debit. My account's getting debited for every lead, so it's in their best interest to have as many leads as possible to start debiting everybody's accounts of money. If you have 10 people in a round robin, if you have 10 leads in one day, you're making $3,000. So if you don't get those 10 leads, apparently you got to make them out somewhere else. I don't know. I haven't encountered that. Selling the leads to multiple people, even though they say they're not going to, is another negative. of it. And then also one I got today from somebody on a lead provider that I have signed up for, told me to watch out because he said, man, when we use them, we caught them being outbound leads, not inbound leads. And I said, well, that's not possible. I specifically, that was one of my interview questions, was where you get your leads from. And they swore they do not do cold calling. And he goes, that's not what we found when we used them. And I said, that's very interesting. Thank you for the heads up. I'm going to keep an eye out for that. So this was some of the, and generally it was a trust thing. Like if I had to sum up all the convos, and I had quite a few convos over the Thanksgiving break with people via DM. So I was like vigorously messaging people back, trust. I'm giving them my money. How do I trust that I'm really getting either my own lead, a real lead, quality lead, right? Those are like the big things of why people aren't like with the PPL game, right? So I thought that I wanted to share that with you guys.
My initial reaction, that's just like an ethics. And like,
I had nobody.
Yeah.
I had nobody on the Instagram side of things. I had nobody talking it up. Not one person was motivating me, saying, "Oh, bro, you're gonna crush it doing this. Continue down that path." Everybody was tales of caution.
Interesting. I wonder, like, did anybody say we never found any success? We never got any deals, even though we
no,
put
so
in
I
no
do
amount
have,
of money?
So hang on, let me read this.
Some people don't see me.
So one
I'm
guy
wondering
said,
how many people have done what you're saying, Jacques, right? Is like you start, it's a great entry point, and use it to build up some capital, and then figure out how to do it yourself. But go ahead, Brandin.
One guy said, I spent about 120 to bring in 260.
That's not bad ROI-ish. I mean,
2x, what was that? Yeah. Well.
He also said he had with that same company, he had a 40 to 50% dispute ratio on his leads. So that's some.
But I mean, so he spent 120 and it got back 260.
Just
and that was for the year, or was that a quarter?
He didn't say.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess getting a 2x return on a marketing channel is not.
It's not phenomenal.
No. But like what Jacques says, it's like that can't be your lead if you're running successful margins in a business.
Right.
That can't be your lead horse.
It's not
that's
forever.
Like one of the channels that you're doing.
When I always did it, I always operated between 15 and 20% my marketing budget, what I wanted to make. So if I wanted to make $100,000, I need to be spending anywhere from like $17,000 to $20,000 a month, and not in all my ancillary costs. I'm talking pure marketing costs. Like that's my ads, that's my actual like callers, that's my actual texting send costs that back in the day, or my direct mail costs. Like not the data costs, not the skip trace costs. That was like my real marketing costs. I would have to spend that to make that much money back when I was heavy into outbound.
No, I agree with that.
So that's like a 4 to 5x return on ROI you're looking at, and typically that's what I hear people say, between 4 to 6 ROI.
Yeah, and that's so Marcus Krigler, because I remember he had answered this question. So Marcus Krigler, he's one of the CPAs for a lot of the guys in like the premier level CG, and so he did a breakdown as far as like what healthy businesses look like as far as like the ROI. So he was already saying that, like, especially for marketing, just like what Brandin, what you just said, he hit it right head. He said it should be about 15 to 20% of what you're trying to do revenue wise, and the same thing too for your payroll. You should be getting a 4x return off of your payroll monthly as well. Now that actually changed my perspective.
That's smart. I've never heard that. And I say it's true because and John knows, like, I scaled back my team. I had some issues with like how big my team got versus what we were doing, and it's easy to allow you to bloat without keeping. And I didn't know that KPI. So what was it again? Say it one more time for the
4x,
payroll.
like
4x on payroll. Huh. Yeah, that's because you got to keep that. You got to keep that in line. I've heard of stores, like retail stores, doing like how much revenue per square foot, like different. Yeah. Everyone's got their thing. I've never necessarily heard that, but it probably.
You're saying your revenue should be 4 times your payroll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Per month, yeah. So,
like, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but if you think about it, and I'm so going off that guy, what was it? It was 120 to make 260.
Yeah.
So let's just say he's spending 120. He's probably got like, I mean, you probably got like back office costs and then commissions if you've
Commissions,
got
yeah,
an
exactly.
acquisition guy. So what are you paying? 8 and a 3. So maybe you're paying 11 to 15%, and then you got like your salaries that you're paying that month, and then your office that you're paying.
I mean, even cost with each property too, because that's what he said he spent on marketing alone. We all know,
Yeah.
even if you're buying or if you're
Yeah.
trying to sell the deal, there's costs associated with that too. So
Very true.
I'm not-
Systems, like the whole operating cost of it.
yeah, exactly. So
Mhm.
I'm like, he probably just broke even on it. So like,
Yeah.
we actually went down and actually like looked at it.
I had that problem when I started out. Like I remember my first year wholesaling, I was paying way too much to my people. And I remember I went to an event and one of the guys told me that he's like, I basically don't have employees. I have partners that aren't doing anything but getting paid while I do all the work. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, and he explained it to me, and he's like, yeah, no, he's like, your employees are basically your partners. They're taking 25% of the profit, and they have none of the responsibility. They are responsible for none of the costs. I was like, that's a very expensive partner. He goes, that's a very expensive partnership you have. And I was like, what? And I came back and I revamped everything, and I had lost people at that because everyone was then upset that I had reduced commissions and salary because I was paying salary and it was a 25% commission. And I just didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, some of those KPIs could be very helpful, but with PPL, I don't have enough data. I'd love to come back and like tell you guys like where I'm going to be at, like as I do more. I just don't have enough data. I know I've gotten a few leads so far this week. Now, the one thing I will say on the one provider I did use, in my humble opinion, and this is only my opinion, they fucking suck. And I'll say that out loud. Like I'm not trying to like get
the producer's in my ear for rated R language, but let's
I just
roll.
want to say, in
Okay.
my humble opinion, that they suck because I believe it is highly unethical to sell your lead to more than one person. You made your money, bro. You made your money. So on the one lead, they had continued following up with the guy. After I paid them, and I'm following up with that guy trying to close him.
That's
Do you know
weird.
what that does? What that does is it creates more. It creates a seller's sense of more importance of what their property is worth or how many people want their property. And like that becomes a problem. And then you see them selling the lead on their marketplace as now hot leads, but
Mhm.
follow-up leads. But if I already paid it and bought it, why are you reselling it as hot? Like, why is that getting pushed back to the top? If anything, it should just stay continually at the bottom of the list. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be bringing it. This is not Reddit. You're not bumping it back up to the top with a new status called follow up, bro. Like I just feel like it's horrible. And then I caught them, and then the problem was is they started adding in outbound, and then it's like so.
And they wouldn't tell you if it was an inbound or an outbound lead. They
No.
charge you the same amount.
No, that's not true. They put it up there. So in their
Okay.
defense, they put it up there. But the problem is like you really have to pay attention to what you're doing, and everything costs something. It's like if you want a 48-hour hold, if you want to, so not only are you paying $400 a lead, but if you want a 48-hour hold, pay another $50. If you want exclusivity, then pay another $100. Bro, I paid for exclusivity once, and I talked to the person, and apparently it wasn't exclusive because they were talking to someone else. So I was like, well, you signed up for probably other people's forms, right? I mean, so you're going to get more calls. He goes, no, I only signed up for one form. I said, so you didn't. And so like I sent it to them and I don't think I got a response. Honestly, I haven't been back on that site. I had so much bad taste in my mouth, but I was like, I paid for exclusivity and here's the call recording of me. Cause I knew at that point I was pointedly asking, how many forms did you sign up for? Are you sure? Like, did you go to any other websites? Did you go to Facebook? Did you do any of these things?
You're wearing
And
a
it
wire.
got to a point where I was just like, even if you're disclosing this and calling it off, I just feel like a lot of this is unethical. Like, how much money do you need to make per lead? Like, at what point does money over ethics, basically? At what point do we say that we need to put ethics over money? Because if your cost is $1.50 a lead, if your cost is my house House Dallas. In my humble opinion, iSpeed to lead sucks. That's my opinion and my opinion only. But I feel as if your cost per lead is like $150 and you're selling it for $300-$400, bro, you did great. You did good, bro. Like, be done. Add on other business lines. Like, that's fine, but you're good.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. That's just my personal opinion.
Interesting.
So, but in the same point, having experience, so for Sell My House Dallas, who's commenting right now, like, I think that's the nature of a marketplace provider. Now, what Jock's talking about is an auction provider where they directly send you leads, and that's now what I'm trying out. And if they're being honest that they're not sending them to other people, then I like that avenue better, and honestly, it's cheaper. So
the auction is cheaper than the marketplace. That doesn't make sense.
iSpeed to lead is straight, like, they just want to, in my humble opinion, they want to rape every single dollar they can out of you. And so everything's a fucking charge, bro. Hey, guess what? You want information about this lead? Pay for premium. Hey, guess what? So I get no info because they're like, well, pay for this, pay for that. You want a 48-hour hold? Pay more. You want exclusivity? Pay more. You want information? Pay more. Like, it's like holy shit, bro. Like, come on, man. Like,
I mean, it just comes with it. I mean,
it comes with it.
The industry. I mean, it's just guys like, because iSpeed Lead gets promoted. I noticed the main people who promote iSpeed Lead are people who promote it to newer investors. So just like they're
also getting their leads for free too. When they do those things, iSpeed to Lead is just hooking them up with free leads to dial and call. Exactly. Yeah, so of course you're gonna do it. They're free fucking leads. You don't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, at the end of the day, those people are in the industry for a short amount of time. They'll come in, hopefully do a deal. If they do a deal, find out it's hard, and then leave. So, but if you're more of I think that's the biggest thing too. When it comes to PPL, you need to decide if you're going to be in the game long or not. If you're going to be in the game long, it's just something that you just need to go ahead and make your money from it in the short interim. Be aggressive with it as well, because I think a lot of the guys who spent a lot of money and had the budget and had a bad taste in their mouth, I just think they didn't have a really good sales process down.
Yeah.
Or follow-up process. Yep. Or exit strategy. Just one
exit strategy.
Yeah. So if you don't have any of that dialed in, then you shouldn't even do it, just because you're just gonna spend $30,000 or $10,000 and you're just gonna be pissed off. And so
let's break this down for the people that are watching, because we're getting close to having to wrap up the show a little bit. But
I don't know. We could keep going all day.
I know, but people come for some content. So here we go. All right. So if we're gonna say I'm gonna do rapid fire questions here. Okay. So what do we think percentage of the leads that you generate in your business should be PPL to have a healthy business? Because I think we all have said you should not rely on it entirely. What are you thinking is a healthy percentage of your business's leads to be from PPL?
I can't answer that.
Yeah, I'd say team size and what you want your deal volume to be is going to be the biggest deciding factor.
You can't put asterisks onto my questions. You just have to.
I mean, if you have one acquisitions, two acquisitions, it makes a huge difference. It makes it you said percentage, right?
Jacques is basically saying the percentage wise, if he's got a team, it has to be a lower. It has to be a low. But if it's just me and I'm just getting leads and I got other shit going on, getting 1 or 5 leads a week may not be a problem.
So you think that it could be a viable solution for somebody getting stuck? Because we talked about the barrier to entry is getting harder. Is PPL a good avenue for somebody who's I want to try this out? I've got the funds to do it.
If you have the funds to do it, if you have $5,000 right now, and we know that the average cost per deal, blah 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 blah, and you have a good sales process, right? You actually know what you're doing. Bro, if you you can ramp it up and do 5 leads a week or 10 leads a week. Mm-hmm. You spend your budget, you should have a deal. Now, Jacques is saying that you might be sitting around for 2 days without getting a lead, depending on what county you're in. But if you're just one person, it could be it's better that. like in my opinion, having done so many lead sources, I would rather have that and sit around and do nothing and follow up and text or whatever while I wait for new leads.
Day trading.
Than to frickin' be dialing on a dialer just to stay busy. It's like, what am I gonna do? I'd rather have the low burnout and know that if I'm good within 12 leads, I should have a contract versus cold calling. I have to not only dial thousands of people, I got to get a hold of them, turn 5 of them into a lead to then convert them, right? Like, or 65 into a deal. I'm sorry, I got to create the leads and then turn them into a deal. That's a lot more burnout, and it could take a lot longer, and is a lot more work with the data, the skip tracing, the organization. Like, so yeah, I am saying, if what you're asking is it a viable for a newbie? Yes, it's viable, but I agree with Jacques. Like, if you're scaled, like, I don't know what your guys are doing. You better have a good ping pong table or something.
So, okay, that's the next step. So if you have an acquisitions person who like is on your payroll, who's expecting to make salary plus commission only from you, at that point, Jacques, what do you feel like PPL can be a percentage of that person's leads?
As far as their leads, so I'm actually just gonna look because I literally have one acquisitions who's on payroll, so like, and he's on salary, so like I'm actually in that. So since texting had gone down, we had to figure out what he needed to, like, because we still have PPL, and it was literally one of those cases of he has too much free time right now. So I would say, as far as like when we have marketing and the PPL percentage wise, we are only at like 5% of the total lead volume that came from PPL, right? Like, but at the same time, there is a higher chance of conversion. Like we have 3 deals under contract right now that came from like with PPL from the past 3 months.
I think we're asking the question the wrong way, though, because a lead is a lead. Now, unless you want to argue the validity of PPL as a channel itself, there is no difference because of the source of the lead. It now comes down to quantity of leads, not source of lead. So if I want to spend money and I say, like, I put a 5 lead cap on one that I just did and 10 on the other in a week because I want to test them out. I don't want them to just blow my budget, right? Let's say I got 15 grand to spend on PPL. I want to use a little of it the first couple weeks to see how they are. But if I didn't have that budget and I knew I needed to keep my guys busy, I'd say no limit, like maybe a 50 lead limit this week, like a 50 leads a week. Like, would that keep your guys busy if that's coming in? And then you're not closing each one. You're following up in between. You're scheduling appointments. You're doing text follow-ups. You're valuing. You're researching. And you're training in the morning. Like, it just all comes down to the money, right? You can make PPL pump leads for you.
Yeah. The other side of it too is just that, like, especially with, because I think you guys seen it, like, because it's county by county.
It's true.
So, you know, even if you're the top bidder in one county, there's no guarantees that you're actually even going to get leads in that specific county.
So you're going to have to go. That's true. You got to go into more counties. Now, Lead Zolo will also do nationwide. So you could go into Lead Zolo, and their leads are actually one of the cheaper leads, but I haven't used them yet, so I can't speak to it. I have paperwork in my email I have to fill out.
What about sales process? Are you following up more aggressively with the PPL leads than you are with other types of leads? And what do you feel like that consistent? Are we talking like every hour, once a day? What's
Day one is more intensive.
Yeah. I mean, speed to lead, obviously. So that same rule as far as like the second you get it, like 30 seconds, like 30. I mean, these are expensive. They're expensive. So 30 seconds in, like trying to call or text. If it's at night, like sometimes we'll get a lead at night. I'll literally send a text message, and I'll make sure that, like, especially if you're on a company, I think you should also get the notifications too.
Yeah.
Good tip.
Yeah, so I get the notifications as well. So if it's like 9:00 at night, I'll send a text message right then and there, say, hey, like, listen, like, I just got your information and stuff, and try to schedule an appointment the next day.
Okay.
Especially you wouldn't need someone else fast. They're trying to make a decision fast. So like, that's kind of one of the biggest thing too. So like we try to just book the appointment ASAP.
Are you doing in-person appointments for the PPL leads that you're getting in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Okay, nice, cool.
Yeah, so we're running in person, or we're just trying to, like I said, we're just trying to get the contract as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Now, as far as like contact goes, if we're not able to get like a response or a phone call that day, or they don't pick up, we're calling twice a day, like until they do pick. That's like, because like I said, especially if your acquisitions has a lot of downtime, then they better.
They
If
yeah,
have
they could be
downtime. They're
texting.
driving there and door knocking.
Yeah.
Hey, do you fill this out on this website?
Like, literally, you
Does
gotta
this
look
website
up.
look familiar to you?
Yeah, I mean, like double tap and or text and double tap. So like you have so it used to be double tap and then text back in the day for me, but now that I'm doing it again this way, right? Inbound stuff again. So now it's text then double tap, because I send my text first, letting them know that I got their info and I'm going to be calling them in hopes that it lessens the surprise, because everything's spam likely or unknown or whatever. So now I want my text to go through first. And like the one lead, so I got 3 leads total so far. So like I'm pretty quick on it. The one person I called within the hour because I got it first thing in the morning, right when I woke up, and then I got rushed to the office, called them. We set the appointment, talked to them, made an offer, all that stuff. The other people, one lady, as soon as the lead comes in, I was sitting at my desk. I called her 4 fucking times from 2 different numbers. Still didn't pick up. Sent her a text message, letting her know. First, I sent her the text, letting her know I was going to call her. Called her twice, double tapped her from one phone number, double tapped her from another a little while later. Then sent another text saying, hey, I just tried calling you. Is there a better time to talk? And then, so the other one this morning that I got, right, this is from Motivated Leads, the only one I've really signed up for of my testing, called him within like 30 minutes, maybe. Like I got it, I was driving, rushed to the office, texted him, double tapped him. I actually double tapped him twice again from my 2 different numbers from his area code. No response. He had no voicemail set up. My texts aren't going through, so I think it's a landline. And then the other lady, I'm sorry, I left a voicemail for. So it was call, voicemail after the last call, then respond back, text that I'm trying to get a hold of you, and I sent an email too.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I sent an email to that lady, and I've updated my email too. I don't know, Jacques, if you did this, but recently we did an AI podcast. If you guys want to go back, look at our podcast titled AI. You could see all of my sexy AI photos that I had taken of me with Remini, the AI app. And so now I have my photo at the bottom, because I feel like if I'm doing the inbound stuff, like I really want my presence to be known. I'm not so much afraid of getting like spam turned in like I was with SMS or RVMs and back in the day. So now I have my photo there, like my name, the logo, all that stuff. So now when I send my email, they're seeing who I am. So I added that in too.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, personalized touch.
But I did AI because I'm just naturally ugly, so I wanted like AI to beautify me up and make me look skinnier. So I did that. Jacques doesn't need that because he's always at the gym working out, posting selfies in the mirre. I got you, bro.
So what happens when you show up to an appointment? They're like, man, did I just get catfish?
Wait a second. Why are you 20 pounds heavier right now? That's why I was telling Carlos, that's why I grew my hair out, because when I did the AI photos, it kept giving me hair. My kids didn't believe I could. Everyone in my family, even my wife, thought I was going bald because nobody had seen me with hair. And I'm like, I can grow hair. So after that, I started growing my hair out. I'm like, I'm proving to everybody I'm not bald.
You need to make the AI photo. Is that accessible to pull up? Because that is one of my favorite images of the year. That was absolutely hilarious.
You just gotta go back and watch the episode. It's a good episode.
You gotta go back. We scrolled through them, so
well,
we tested out a couple different apps.
But I would say just a key point too, especially when it goes down to like the sales process, is really running the appointment or making the offer, regardless of like what the person says as far as their asking price is. Because I think that's the same thing that I really pull that away from Eric Greer. That was something that we had, like, he had really like stressed to like as a sales process. But like I said, that one lead guy wanted full retail, hung up on me when I told him I was not going to give him full retail. And then my acquisitions ran the appointment anyways and got him down. Right. So like, how many people are hearing full retail
And they're like,
They never
bye,
respond.
never
Yeah.
talk to you again.
Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go Novations. You gotta go Novations or Wholesale if you had funding lined up, so that's pretty clutch. But again, a lot of newbies aren't gonna have that. I don't know. Like for nationwide, I don't do nationwide, so like I'm gonna partner. Like I have some people I'm just gonna let them JV my deal if because I signed up for Lead Solo's nationwide stuff and created a separate account for the county version of Lead Solo. So I am truly testing. Like when I do something, I set aside a good amount of money and then go in and I figure out like they're very open about what guys are getting per lead. All of them are around what Jacques is at, somewhere between that 8, 10, 12 range.
Yeah.
So they said, and they said that people doing the lower 8 and 9 are typically doing 3 or 4 different exit strategies.
Yeah.
They're doing creative, wholesale, Novations. When they ask me, I just straight up, I'm like, dude, I'm wholesale and Novations. I'm not a sub 2 guy. Everyone who watches this show, no, I am not a sub 2 guy. So that's going to limit what I could do as well, right? Like that's not going to be my thing. I'm looking at specific exit strategies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I can't wait to get more. Like I just got to better my process too. Like Jacques, any advice on the ones that don't pick up? You think just keep calling them? That's it?
I mean, that's kind of like been our biggest thing. Obviously, we're not like we haven't implemented the pulling up to their house. I know Cody.
A little knock on the window.
Yeah, Cody.
What's up, man?
Yeah, but I know they talked about like some guys with their PPC they'll go door knocking and stuff like that too, and they've got.
I love that.
Deals.
I actually love that
I think
so
that's
much.
savage.
Yeah, it is.
I love the level of savagery with that.
Yeah, I remember somebody told me the story. I think it was Cody out in Utah. He's one of those big guys, but he's like his acquisition got an $80,000 deal because PPC came in, was not picking up. They drove and went to the person's house. The person was in the process of moving, and their phone was in the kitchen. And so he got the contract signed right there, and it was an $80,000 deal. Yeah, so it gives us like little things like that. That's what I would say. But like we had people who picked up 3 months later.
Yeah, see, I'm interested because, like I said, out of my 3, 2 of them haven't responded to me. Text, email. Well, I've only emailed the one, but you know what I mean. I wouldn't think if you asked me common sense, I wouldn't think they would pick up 3 months later, not like a cold call lead, right? Because in my mind, they're filling out 5 different forms. Somebody got a hold of them. They needed to sell fast, so they're probably already sold. So although I'll keep following up, my hopes are not high that they still have that house. Not like a cold call lead, which I literally, when I still dial those, like I'm calling people I've talked to like for 2 fucking years because they're going through some shit and they're not ready yet. But that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, but I guess the biggest thing for me is I'm always curious about what the impression of the consumer is under. Like, so like for example, like if you like Open Door, if you request an offer from Open Door, they give it to you on the website. So when people are filling out the forms, I don't
they think they're going to get the offer right there.
Yeah, I think that's what
I
happens.
agree.
Yeah, so
I 100% agree.
So when they're getting 5 different phone calls, they're like, I didn't want a phone call, I just wanted an offer.
I wanted
right, and I think that's what happens. So like if you call somebody 3 months later, when obviously they fill out forms 3 months ago, so they don't know the intent of what you're calling for, so they don't associate you with the actual form that they like filled out, because obviously when they do all that,
so long ago.
Yeah, exactly. Now granted, it's a hypothesis. I don't know. I can't really speak to it.
I'm looking at the stats that I was saying earlier about PPL versus PPC versus organic at the days created to contract. So PPL is 13.6 days. And PPC is 16 days and organic is 26 days.
Yeah, I really think that has to do. I think the reason why PPL beats out, and this is a straight guess, is because of all the different branding and angles they take to their ads, because they literally are in the business of doing that to make it easy on us. Whereas most PPC people, they have one website with one type of ad, like with some keywords, but they're not getting real. And I'm sure there's somebody out there who is, but you know what I'm saying? Like they're not really getting specific. Like we're just doing one general website and everybody goes there. So John, actually before I ask John, one of the things as I dip my toes into this, and I'm pretty new into this whole PPL outbound speed to lead thing. Like this is all new. Do you have? So one of the things I was thinking and wondering if you have this is, damn, I'm on the road. I can't get into my smartphone app because smartphone app is a little difficult to get into and do while driving. It's not very driving friendly. Not that you should be texting and driving. That is illegal. Don't do it. Drive safe, arrive alive. But like having the CRM send a quick text letting them know, but I want it from my number, letting them know that I'm going to call like my smartphone ID number, or like an email as soon as that lead comes in. But here's the kicker. What I just want to know, like, one, do you have that set up? And two, isn't your concern like that automation goes out and you're sitting at your desk and you call it and you don't really need that automation? So I'm always torn between that type of thought process. Well, do you do any of that, Jacques, with like your leads? Have you implemented that, or are you got one acquisition guy and he's crushing it, staying on top of it for you?
I mean, we turned it on for IF3 because I know they have the sequence where to each marketing channel specific that you can turn on custom, like send out like a text message a second comes in.
Campaign autoresponders, yes, unique per campaign.
I just don't know if it's actually working though. So
yeah, and who's okay? Well, John, then, so you do have it. You have texting. Do you have email?
No, we don't have the email. We just have the texting automation.
Okay, so then, John, with smartphone, my integration with InvestorFuse, I want it to come. I have like,
yes,
it can come from my number, but can it come from my number? Different of my numbers, or I just have to pick one number that it comes from? Because if I'm in Dallas, like we talk one number. So it comes from one number, and that's the number I call. Now on the email, is it actually coming from my Gmail with my signature on it, or is it coming from InvestorFuse?
So the text can come from a single number that you pick in smartphone per person. So if you have 3 acquisitions person, each one of them can have their own smartphone number, and the auto response template will go out from each one of their individual phone numbers. And you can choose for that to have a delay time. So like how many minutes after the lead comes in do you want the text to go out? And then you can also choose to say, I only want it to go out during office hours. And then email, same minutes delay, same kind of during office hours.
Hang on. Pause. Go back to texting.
Mm-hmm.
You have office hours, so can I have 2 different texts? One, because I want to steal. I don't know if this was okay. So I could do one in office that's like, hey, got your info from our online web form. This is Brandin. I got your info from our online web form. I'm going to give you a call in a few minutes when I'm free. I'm on the phone right now. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you.
So
and that's during
if
office
it comes
hours.
out of office hours, you can choose to do one of 2 things. You can send the message at 9 a.m. the next working day, or you can send a different message immediately.
So that's what I want. So during the day, I want to send, hey, I'm going to call you in a couple of minutes. I'm on the phone. Thank you for filling out that type of message. But after hours, I was thinking I'm going to steal, and I don't know if it's Jacques or maybe it's our buddy Tyler too who does it, the Calendly thing, where it's like, it's late at night. We got your stuff. Let's set up a call for tomorrow. Either I'll call you or you could pick from this Calendly link. And that's kind of what I've been thinking. Just even after these 3 leads, my mind has been going, can I do that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, when Jacques brought it up, man, when you're spending this much money per lead, you start to get nervous of like, am I wasting this lead? Like I was 30 minutes on that one and I'm pretty pissed at myself. Like, damn, like I'm mad that I was like on the road. Like, why wasn't I, like, I had nothing planned. Like I didn't have it ready. So now the emails, like what do we do for emails?
So the emails in InvestorFuse, as long as it's set up inside of your account, come from your own domain. But you have to go in and attach your own domain.
But from my Gmail, will my signature go with it with my pretty picture?
No, it's not Gmail. It's using a service that connects your domain and it masks what we're sending through as your domain. It is not as it doesn't. You can create a signature, not as fancy.
No.
You don't think with photos? I haven't tested that out though. I don't know if somebody else is doing it with photos.
Because the reason why I add the photo, right, like my logic with this photo is when I talk to the first lead, you know, he was pretty, and we have an offer and we have a follow-up call to try to finalize this, but it was pretty much like, I need to sell my house really fast, and I get that, but like, man, I still don't know who you are type of thing.
Yeah.
And like, I've
Credibility.
never seen you. And so in my mind, I was like, man, and I sent him a follow-up email after we hung up. And I was like, that's when I came up with the photo. I was like, if he sees my face, maybe it'll like in my website, like it'll start to really create something. That's why I felt like a photo or even like a video, something like would be really cool to be having into that email so they could see you. Cause they are like, our goal is to get them converted within a week, if anything, right?
Yeah. I know smartphone's working on a feature where you can do video chat without any software. Doesn't matter what phone they have on it, obviously not landline, but if they have a cell phone, it works through the browser and you'll be able to do video chatting. You just send them a link,
That'd be
you click
huge.
the link, and then they'll be able to like connect to you
Bruh.
without downloading any software.
Smartphones getting good, dude. I remember back in the day, they couldn't do emojis, they couldn't do photos. Like, and then when they added that in, it was like game changer to really be like a cell phone. And then,
Yeah.
so video chat's going to be huge for them.
Yeah, it would be a cool feature.
So texting,
Mhm.
definitely. We're still iffy on this email. It can be done, but not with the
Probably not as
self-photo.
fancy as what you're thinking you can do in Gmail on your own.
Yeah. Can I set up something like to web zap, like to zap to my Gmail or some shit like that? Some stuff like that?
Yeah. I think so.
So either way, if you got Zapier, Investor Fuse, PPL, you could set yourself up a pretty good automation there.
Yeah, for sure.
Jacques, we got to get on that, man. We got to get on that.
What, the email?
Yeah, the email, the email and I know you're already on the texting, but I got to get on both.
Yeah, the only drawback is, like I said, I just don't know if the texting's actually working. The only drawback is that when we requested for it to be tested, they said that it has to actually come from the marketing channel itself. So like I have to submit a lead through Need Someone Else Fast to figure out if it actually works or not. I think
Yeah, because it doesn't work when you manually create an opportunity and attach it to a campaign. It only works when the leads are coming into the webhooks.
yeah. So we have it set up.
Cool.
I just don't know if it's actually going out.
I get what you Has it? Well, no one's ever responded to you.
No, I mean we haven't gotten a response from that spectrum of things, but I mean usually we're already texting them and calling them, so if they're not going to respond, they're not going to. If they don't respond to it, yeah, they're not responding.
Yeah, I just want it to be more like my concern. So like one of the things is like there's an old saying of somebody would rather somebody would rather call your competitor than wait 2 minutes or something like that. And so I don't need them to respond. I just want them to know that I'm here. I got your stuff and like we're going to talk. So stop going to everyone else's site. Like, give me a moment, bro. Like, because if you don't know, right? Like,
yeah,
they're going to just think that like, oh, this is the guy. I didn't get my offer. Like Jacques said, I didn't get my offer right away online. No one's called me in 5 minutes. I'm sitting on the couch on my phone. Let me go to 2 more sites. But if they get my text, and this is me as a consumer too, right? Like if I get that, I'd be like, cool. Because the last thing you want to do as a consumer is have to go through more and more calls and searches. Like so that's my logic.
That happened to you when you were doing like looking into PPL providers. You got called.
Yeah. Bro, that one guy, shit, I don't want to give the wrong person credit. I don't know who it was. One of them, because I signed up for so many. One of them, I literally signed up and I select, it was Motivated Leads. So I will give them credit. I was signed up. They had a choice. Do you want to create your own account or go through like a demo call? And I was like, create my own account. I literally did it. It had like a self video thing to watch and then set up your own account. Literally, as I clicked, I want to set up my own account. 30 seconds later, my phone rang and it said Motivated Leads, and I picked up and I said, wow. I was like, what's going on, man? That's good follow-up. Like, that's good. And he laughed. And I was like, man, you guys called me within 30 seconds of that lead. 30 seconds. They were on the phone with me. He took time, even though I said I wanted to do it myself, explained it to me, ultimately sold me on it, and I signed up, and that was like Monday or something. I'm already getting leads from him.
That is what every investor should be doing to leads that they get through this. Because like you're saying, like people are sitting there being like, well, I still have a problem to solve. I should go look at somebody else.
So it's funny. So actually, I didn't think about this. I had actually signed up for property leads first because it was really easy. Nobody called me. Nobody did anything. I selected the self option to do it and all that stuff. And that account was created first. I went to Motivated Leads, did it. And when he called me, I got it set up. He took my credit card info, funded it. I still haven't finalized my property leads. And yesterday they started texting me saying, hey, we noticed you have your account set up, but you don't have your card added. Like, do you need any help with anything? So I didn't think about that because I didn't get that going. Motivated Leads called me so quick. Who did I fund first and spend money with first? Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, Brian Driscoll, he runs a really good organization. Yeah.
Not that I'm not going to use property leads. I was working on setting it up this morning, picking my counties and stuff. Like I said, I want to try out many of them, but Motivated Leads got me on that quick response. They stopped me from setting up another account because they were so quick.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys in CG use them.
Do they? And what's your general consensus then? Good news?
So from what they say, I know the guys in CG vouch for them. They're saying that they're converting that at 10-1.
Yeah.
It's just that obviously their minimum bid is $300.
Yeah.
Or who's in your market, it doesn't matter nothing. You could be the only person in that county, it's still $300 at minimum. I think that's kind of like the only thing I just don't like, because obviously you need to sell a house fast. You could be as low as $50 if somehow miraculously there's nobody in your county.
That's interesting. Well, I'm ready to give it a go. I thought this was good, man. Jacques, I think that's some good advice though, like with the texting and stuff, and you got to have the team the right size for this. You don't want your guys sitting around. Yeah. Carlos, what are you thinking, bro? You've been silent.
I'm always chilling. If we're wrapping right now, I have a couple things. One for Pulse of the Week, kind of an interesting thing that I think real estate investors and software guys can think about is Spotify Wrapped. How popular that's got. I don't know if you guys are on Spotify, but it pretty much tells you John's on mute, but I think he has some feedback here. But people love their own consumption data. Like, people love sharing it. I thought of Papa P. There's a funny just Instagram video, and the title is like, what people do you know what I'm talking about, the Spotify Wrapped, where it gives you all the metrics. Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought of Papa P when I saw this video, because it's the title of it is what you think people's reactions are when you post as your story or your Spotify, which I've done in the past. Nothing against it, but they go, you Renaissance man, you listen to all these different people, man, you're so sophisticated, like all this stuff. But I'm saying that because people love hearing their own data. So even on this show, it's valuable going through the KPIs. John, clutch performance there on bringing up some KPIs. And that's just something good to think about, I think, in business, is valuable data, people understanding their own consumption data. The last thing I had for Jacques, though, was like final words. We talked about some companies. It sounds like Motivated Leads is really, really good. But just because people watching this are probably intrigued to some extent about PPL and PPC and stuff, but what advice would you give for those navigating the waters of doing due diligence on different providers for both PPC? Because you mentioned you signed up for a PPC provider as well recently. We didn't dive into that specifically.
Oh yeah, that's like a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing of like kind of due diligence, and what's a good way to navigate water for these real estate investors listening.
Honestly, I would say even with PPC, I'm like new to the space, so I really don't even know the best questions to ask that. So I went to now.
Did you go Bateman?
Did you go Bateman? No, I didn't go Bateman. I didn't go Bateman specifically because I know they haven't really performed. They didn't have a track record perform well in our market specifically.
Oh.
And that's actually something I do ask is like, do you have a track record of being in my market? That's one thing I've asked. Good
question.
Yeah, like do you know how to make money in our market? Because I know you're probably killing it in Illinois, but this is not Illinois. Because
Phoenix.
Yeah, or Phoenix or something like that. And that's something that I picked up from CG. I always love, and I look for vulnerability too. So I'll ask them like, hey, like who's your worst performing client and why? And I was like, can you show me because they'll show you all the good ones and stuff. I was like, no, show me the bad ones. Why and why was it bad? right? And so like, okay, can you actually break down why was it bad? Okay, if you guys were to like, how would you turn it around, or what? That's what I look for, and if they're going to be honest about that too. If you don't have no bad performing clients and you have no bad results, that's obviously okay, cool. Like either you're not in it long enough, or you're not being honest enough or trustworthy enough, in my opinion. And that's specifically on the PPC side. As far as PPL, I just literally just ask around. That's I know Brandin's gonna be the expert in about like 3 months now.
I might be getting sued, bro. Look, I don't hold back. I don't hold back after I use a provider. Like I'll let my opinions fly.
Defamation.
Yeah, right. So, that's interesting though. Yeah, I don't know. The only questions I asked, I interviewed with Bateman Collective, and I have no problems with them. And I thought what they were asking was very fair. I thought what they said my monthly spend had to be was very fair. Like Jacques, I don't think I really asked them any questions because I didn't know anything to ask because I was very new. Now, after the iSpeed delete, in my opinion, my humble opinion of that debacle of a clusterfuck over there, I then learned what I wanted to ask because I know I didn't want that to happen to me again. So then when I interviewed the other 3 providers, I knew exactly what to ask them and to gauge their responses. And I went and asked for advice from people.
Good things to do.
Sage advice, wise words from a very decent man.
There you go.
So,
well, good stuff, guys. Jacques, thank you so much for hopping on here. That was a lot of fun.
I apologize for being late, guys. I really do apologize.
That's all good, man.
No,
hey, man, we had a closing. Good reason to be late.
Yeah, we held it down, bro. We appreciate you coming on, talking PPL with us. But we'll have to reconvene and see how you're doing on the PPC provider. If you're willing to share with us, maybe hop back on in like 3 or 6 months or something after you get some good usage. I know Bateman Collective, when I asked them, they were saying something similar to that. It was like between 4 months, 6 months. Like you really had to be able to get your account going for that 90 to 120 days to really see some great results.
Yeah, and I agree with that. That was actually something else that like I had actually turned down a PPC provider specifically because of the fact that I want to work with somebody who I can help, like kind of help us create a brand itself. And what they had already was like their own established thing and their own established site, and I was like, okay, well, like this is not like a long term, because we're looking at things from a long.
It's purely lead gen.
Yeah,
that's like kind of the options you can go down. Like if you're using someone else's brand, then you have to be able to overcome those seller objections versus them building your brand / your own site. 100%.
Makes sense. So you opted for the brand, the person helping you with the brand.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
We're gonna reconvene then. We definitely gotta talk again. What is that? So come springtime, we'll have to see how things are going for you.
Yeah. That's our quarterly initiative is increasing our brand presence and marketing.
All right.
I like it. Very cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, Jacques, for coming on. It's been a great episode for everybody out there. I hope you enjoyed the insights and had a few laughs. If you want to stay in the loop and join our other shows, which are here every Friday, go to links.letstalkrealestate.tv. And then if you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, make sure you do that. And until next time, we'll see you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Lock and load.